Last week, in the wake of another mass shooting, I mentioned that the typical Republican refrain of thoughts and prayers has been replaced by vague and hollow calls for mental health treatment, whatever that means. But in case you think the calls for public prayer as a policy response from the right have died out completely, take a look at how prayer is being weaponized these days.
When we were at the Villages here in Florida yesterday, Shemaine and David, a lot of people were saying that the power of prayer is what we need now more than ever, that this is a spiritual war, this is a battle between good and evil. Might that be what Ted is going to talk about? Because it's been a heck of a week where we have these dark forces still coming after Donald Trump. He's fighting back. I think it sets the table for what's going to be a very interesting rally, Shemaine.
Down in the Villages in Florida, people have a lot to say about God, Donald Trump, prayer, and how all of those things are inextricably linked. So the Villages, if you don't know, is basically a census-designated retirement community in Florida that is also one of right-wing media's favorite place to interview people. And that's because it's right in Trump's backyard, and with a community of elderly folks, it attracts a lot of right-wing, and in this case specifically MAGA warriors. What's even wilder than an official region of the country that's basically a Republican Mecca is that between 2010 and 2020, the Villages metropolitan area was the fastest growing metro area in the United States. And when it comes to the intersection of faith and politics, the Villages is truly ground zero. That zealous intersection finds its expression, as I said, in the countless interviews outlets like Fox News and Real America's Voice give, but also in independent voices like MAGA prophet Julie Green, who I've covered extensively and who has a lot to say about the recent news concerning former President Trump and what God has in store for him.
Everything they do guarantees their defeat, their embarrassments, their exposures, their judgments. What they have done against my David, Donald Trump, solidifies their judgment and their indictments. I have told you about indictments. I told you they would not get what they want out of this. It will backfire. It will blow up and boomerang back on them. And they will not touch my anointed and get away with this.
So at one point, God had told this MAGA prophet Julie Green that Trump would not be indicted. But of course, he's now revising his words to say, no, he did predict these indictments, but the prosecutors will not ultimately get their way. I can't put it any better than this Twitter user who notes that it's interesting how God is so up to date on modern legalities. And I would add, speaks in full sentences to her. Using God as proof of the divinity of Donald Trump is so delusional, disrespectful, and embarrassing for the right, but it has truly taken over the MAGA wing of the party. Thoughts and prayers used to be a respectful but hollow talking point in the face of Republican inaction, but it's now actively being used to push false and delusional rhetoric to drum up support of a political figure literally being charged with over 30 felonies. The intersection of prayer and politics is so gross to me because it never actually has to do with doing anything good for our country. It only is used by people sowing distrust and discord, and of course, propping up dozens and dozens and dozens of grifters. If you want to see more of my coverage on The Breakdown, stay right here. You can watch my latest video on a MAGA Karen throwing a tantrum over Bud Light's betrayal by clicking on the link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. You can follow me on all platforms at Caro Johnson 917.